This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world on the Talk Star Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to give us a call, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. That is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii at 1-877-528-8255. My email address is xzone@talkstarradio.com. On MSN Messenger, talkstarradio@hotmail.com, and our websites, www.xzoneradio.com and xzonetv.com. My guest this hour is Douglas James Cottrell. He is a Canadian publisher who has since 1974 developed an incredible ability of deep meditation clairvoyance, where he has the ability to intuitively see a person's health condition anywhere in the world. He has for 35 years demonstrated this profound ability with clients all over the world and from all walks of life. He has explored the spiritual world and mastered many other intuitive skills to a great degree. He currently gives lectures or workshops to organizations and small groups alike on intuitive development. In addition, from time to time, Douglas and his wife Karen hold public spiritual healings gatherings called Miracle Transformation Events for body, mind, and spirit. His deep trance meditation style is often compared to that of Ross Peterson, his teacher, and that of the U.S. great seer Edgar Cayce. Many testimonials are listed on his website. He is often referred to as the real deal, the man with X-ray eyes, and Canada's Edgar Cayce. His website, www.douglasjamescottrell.com. Douglas, how are you, good sir? How are things in that beautiful city of London this evening?
Balmy is the word, nice and sunny, and I understand the weather report's a little rain tomorrow, but spring is here, and everybody has a positive outlook. I've been on the road lately, so I'm a little tired tonight. Hope you don't mind. Rob, it's always a pleasure to be back on the show.
It's always great having you here, buddy.
Well, what are we going to talk about tonight?
I'd like to talk about your new CD entitled Earth Changes 2012.
Okay, well, it's selling very well. People are reporting back that it's filling in some of the blanks. It, of course, addresses some of the major concerns that we're experiencing now. And it's one in a series. There will be others. We're going to talk about the Illuminati next, and we're trying to put a timetable together on the events in the world that will happen as far as earthquakes or volcanic eruptions or other geological effects. They sort of have a cosmic Earth kind of time clock leading up to what would be getting through this time of extremes. I'm not here to say that the world is coming to an end in 2012. I'm here to say this is the end of an age, and it's the beginning of another one. And what we're seeing now is the preparation for that fabled 1,000 years of peace. And the CD addresses that. The series was an ongoing series. Every couple of weeks we'll have a new CD, which is an hour long, by the way, and the download is like $9.95 or something. So it's affordable for everyone, and the people who are buying it are people who are studying the scientific aspects as well as the spiritual material that's coming through. Why we're going through this time of extremes, for instance. But we're talking about many things on those. We're also going to cover some of the economic things that are going on. I really don't believe that we're in that much danger right now economically. Last time I might have mentioned it on the show. I'm using the 401 highway as my economic barometer.
Douglas, stand by. You and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Exonation all the way from the beautiful city of London, Ontario, our good friend Douglas James Cottrell. His website is www.douglasjamescottrell.com. We'll both be back on the other side of this 2-minute break as we continue on the Talkstar Radio Network.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
The song that you're listening to, Earth Changes, is by Michael Horn, and Michael's going to be my guest tomorrow night here on the X Zone, and we're also going to be talking about the Billy Meier Society and a few new revelations that Billy Meier has come up with. My guest this hour is Douglas James Cottrell. He is known as The Real Deal. He is also known as the Man with X-Ray Eyes, and he is also known as Canada's Edgar Cayce. But to me, he's Douglas James Cottrell, a guy who lives in London, Ontario, who does a lot of wonderful things to help people in these very trying times. Douglas, people are looking at the year 2012. There's two camps. There's the camp where people are saying it is the end times as told about in the book of Revelations. It is Armageddon. The seventh seal is going to be opened, and the return of Christ. And then there's other people, of which I'm glad to be a member of the camp, who believes it's the end of one time, the beginning of another. And I really believe, Douglas, that these days are going to be days of wonderment.
I agree. You're absolutely right. I know you talk to a lot of people, and you get that've been guests on your shows, and I know you're a serious guy, as well as having a fundamental interest in the paranormal and what goes on. So you have if anything, you're a cross section of all the different points of view, and to come up with a statement like that, you're absolutely right in my opinion. I've seen the same thing. I've not seen any dread. I've been on your show and other radio shows where I predicted the stock market crashes. I predicted earth changes that have happened. I've been talking about the banking collapse for 20 years almost.
Yeah.
But we didn't really know how it was going to happen. And, of course, what did happen is the banks got out of the banking business, if you will. They expanded into the stock markets and insurance company business and derivatives and you name it, they got into it. They got greedy. And, there's a saying in the market, the bears make money, the bulls make money, but the pigs get slaughtered. And that's what's happened, so to speak, with these banks. And now we can see that since the world went into a tailspin with 9/11, and the world changed that day.
It did.
We can look back and say it changed. We can look back at this time where the banks requiring unbelievable bailout by the government, especially the American government. Around the world, the banks were relying on money from the American government. The world changed on that day or that month. And as such, when we look back on it, we're going to see, yes, indeedy, the world is changing. Now, we're getting away from greed, we're getting away from extremes, and we're being forced into what ultimately will be the solution for the world's money, which is the gold standard. More and more countries are disenfranchising themselves with America, their money, oil, different things are happening in the world, and when we look back on these things, we're going to be able to put a little dot on a chart and say, there's a change, there's a change, there's a change. And as we look back, we're going to see all these changes are for better or worse, because mankind always does the right thing, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
We're herding ourselves towards a more disciplined society, which of course deals with the bank. The banks, to be in banking is to truly be your brother's keeper.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that the Canadian banks are rock solid, thanks to Mr. Cottrell way back when he didn't allow the Canadian banks to go down to New York and become more Americanized. The whole world now is going to come back to the Canadian banking system. But the long and the short of it is, it's not Armageddon. It is severe changes. What we're going to see, and I've said this on your show, we are going to see hyperinflation coming into the picture. When I said 30% interest rates, people would think, and I think it's going to be a little more, people thought I was absolutely crazy. But they thought that when I said interest rates were going to be 24%, which they ultimately became. And then when I said they were going to go down to 3 and 4%, they thought, absolutely, I'm off the wall. And when I said now that they're going to go to 30%, people just shake their head up until recently, and they couldn't believe it. And this kind of material is in this 2012 prophecy series that we have, 2012 Earth Changes. We're going to be discussing and giving in time or sequence these things that are going to happen. But the main thing is that the banks themselves are going to be forced into being more honest, and we're going to get away from all this middleman discrepancies. And people out there will find it, as the American, when they look back, as the American government printed up more money, it's a cauldron of inflation. And now it's being proven. I mean, more and more economists are now, the buzzwords are coming out. We're not going to go through a 1929 crash. Now we're into a supposed depression. Now we're in some sort of stagnation, and the word inflation is now kind of creeping into the media.
Douglas, you and I have talked many years now, and Laura and I were talking about you Sunday night at the dinner table, because Laura knew that you were coming on the show, and she asked me to ask you a question, and she would like to know, when you go into your deep trance, at any time, do you ever feel as if you're in the same time and space that Edgar Cayce was in?
Well, it's the answer to that is yes. It's a deep meditation state. It's commonly referred to now favorably. It used to be, when I started this 35 years ago, it used to be unfavorable, but it was, when you use the word trance, which is a medical term, it sounds like spooky. But when you're in this state of deep meditation, your mind is going away from its normal waking state into a state that you can see people walk around in their sleep. They can talk in their sleep. And that frame of mind, narcolism almost, is or somnalism. That particular state of mind is a disconnected state of the physical body from the mind. When people walk around in their sleepwalk and do things, drive cars even, they haven't made that disconnect completely, and that's what makes them act out their dreams or what's going on in their mind when they're asleep, and they are asleep. Well, it's just to extrapolate a little bit further, there's this disconnect, but the mind is still working like that. And Edgar Cayce had that ability to go to the Akashic Records, that storehouse of all knowledge, or he would go to a person just by knowing their name alone, which was given to him in his suggestive state when he was in this deep state of meditation. He would find that person on their name alone and given their location, whatever city and town they lived in, thousands of miles away perhaps, or around the corner, and he was able to extrapolate information that would relate to the person's health exactly as if he was reading a record or a medical file. I've been able to do that, and I've been tested, and it's been proven, never mind the thousands of clients that have had to do that. But to answer the question, yes, you go into that state of mind, and you'll find that it's a high yogi meditation as well, and I'm sure the Buddhists would have some level of meditation in which you're able to become aware of everything. Sort of like in a dream, you're aware of the whole dream, and although you've had a dream, it's a lengthy dream that might take ages to write out, it seems like it only happened for a couple of minutes. When you're in that state, yeah, it's very the similar state of awareness that Edgar Cayce had, or Ross Peterson, or myself, or a few others.
Can we say then you actually return to your true spirit being?
Well, when you're in the Akashic Records, you are dealing with that other part of your mind, the soul mind. People who maybe had the experience where they're floating or flying around in a dream, or people who've been able to sense that they've been floating just outside their body, or people who have been wide awake but unable to move their body. They have no control, but they're aware of other beings, perhaps a visitation of a holy figure or a guru or some saintly figure. Those are visitations, and those are other things that happen while we're quote unquote asleep. And so when you're in that state, yeah, you're in a higher level of awareness, or you're dealing with your soul mind.
When you go into a deep trance, are you in any danger?
Absolutely. It's a very dangerous state because you have to suppress your respiration and heart rate, which is a physical problem because it's an abnormal state to be in. You know, either you're asleep or you're awake, but when you're in this twilight world, you're willfully suppressing your heart rate. And when people watch me do this, somewhere halfway through the session, which lasts about an hour usually, it almost looks like I'm not breathing. And after an hour, we have to stop at the source, as we like to call it, or the soul mind says, time to wake up the body. It usually says the body's becoming deplete. What that means is the oxygen in the blood is being used up, and so we have to wake up and start breathing to put more oxygen in the blood. Now, these are physical sort of problematic situations, but then there's the mind merging, or the remote viewing, or the projecting of the mind to another person. And if that person is ill, I've woken up with symptoms from that illness. Earlier on in my career, if a person had a broken arm, my arm would ache. If a person was on medication and they were a little, schizophrenic or whatever, I would wake up disoriented. And if somebody was really angry, I would wake up feeling angry. But over the years, I've learned to, as the statements are supposed to cancel out those feelings, I've learned how to distance myself so that when I wake up, I don't have those nasty feelings anymore, or I don't have those pains. But I got to tell you, when we're talking about God or high angelic things, I wake up, I feel like I'm floating on a cloud. So there's a good and a not so good kind of reaction. But you can get it, you can pick up things, especially if you're talking about nasty things like murder or...
Douglas, we've got to take our news break. Please stand by. DouglasJamesCottrell.com is Douglas's website. That's DouglasJamesCottrell.com. And Douglas and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada on Talkstar.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and you're listening to the X-Zone Radio Show on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Hamilton is located on the shores of Lake Ontario, in between the city of Toronto and beautiful Niagara Falls. And we're smack dab in the middle of the Great Lakes Triangle. If you'd like to give us a call and speak with our special guest this hour, Douglas James Cottrell, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. That's toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii at 1-877-528-8255. We're talking tonight about Douglas's new CD that's available on his website entitled Earth Changes 2012 Earth Changes. And Douglas's website is filled with information, and it's located at www.douglasjamescottrell.com. That's www.douglasjamescottrell.com. Douglas, in any of your deep trance meditations or using your very gifted psychic awareness, were you able to see the rise of the swine flu that we're all watching very closely these days?
Well, we talked about it in other sessions, and again, this time in which the world is going through this paranoia almost. My feeling or sense is this is an accident in which China has been developing some biological weapons, as America has and other countries have, and as such, they've had an accident with this swine flu. I've talked to some American businessmen in New York, and they think it's much too convenient that with the Madoff and other financial woes and the gun-toting drug lords down on the Mexican border and this kind of battle going back and forth, that all of a sudden out of Mexico comes a swine flu epidemic or pandemic, as they're putting it. So we've talked about these and different things. We've talked about what the world is going through and the devious activities of some crazy people in the world, including in the 2012 series. There's there is an atomic weapon in the Middle East, and Turkey's the place to keep an eye on, and not necessarily Iran or Iraq. So we're able to pinpoint these different things, and that's why we're putting a 2012 series together, so we can educate the people as to what to be looking out for, what's going to happen next. Forearmed is forewarned. Now, I'm cavalier about this, maybe, or I'm complacent with it, depending. But it's only because the track record is there. I've been able to accurately describe these things or talk about these things. I talked about the earthquake problems in Italy and the volcanic action in Alaska. And these are things to look out for. I'm predicting the whole West Coast will have some very difficult times, including Alaska, and I've been saying that for a couple of years. So we're able to see these things, and depending on the questions, and as you alluded to during the break, or you broadcast rather, I shouldn't say allude to, you said it, the questions come from the viewers or the listeners or our clients, and they ask me these questions. We put them all together, and then we make a CD for it, and we make it available for like $9 or $10 as a download, and it's available to anybody. We have other things on the website like Hillary and Obama sessions and earth changes, and there's a lot of things on there. But what is God even? But that comes from the listeners or people out there, and they want to know. And I'm making this source, this window of information, if you will, available to the general public. From attracting a soulmate onto our book. By the way, The Secrets of Life is going to be translated into French very soon, and we have on the horizon we have other languages, including Russian. So the Secrets of Life book is becoming a course of study, and in that it details how the information, how it got started, and how the information has come through. And the whole book was written from that perspective of being able to be in a deep state of meditation. So the information is genuine, it's provable, it's on the record. I've made lots of predictions on your show that's come true in other places. And it's anybody can do this who has the tenacity to try to meditate every day. But there's certain keys or certain steps that one has to take. And the way I learned was watching Ross Peterson and then trying it myself. So I kind of learned, I'm the example. If you simply stumble along and try, you can go to any level or length of trying to get information yourself from this wonderful place we call the Akashic Records, or the Universal Mind, or the storehouse, or whatever term or you want to put on it. But it is an ability, by going into a deep state of meditation, that one can grab this information or can have access, so that when you have difficulties, it's a reliable source of information. It helps you make practical decisions in a reliable way.
Doug, how long does it take you to go completely under?
A couple of minutes, between 2 and 5 minutes. Now, when I started out, it would take a lot longer, 10 or 15 minutes, and I would still be kind of awake, meaning I would be cognizant of what was going on in the room. But I was able to tell time. I was able to see things. I was able to hear. At that time, one of our children was not well, and I told my wife at the time, Sherry's sick in the next room. She hadn't been aware of it, and sure enough, Sherry was ill. And but it was like, well, how come she didn't hear that? I heard it very plainly. So what happens is an umbrella of your awareness or consciousness goes out, it expands out, and you become aware of lots of things. The clock ticking sounds like it's ticking right in your ear. So your whole awareness of your physical senses increases, as does your intuitive ability or senses.
Is it possible for someone to go into trance without knowing they're actually in a trance?
Oh, sure. Daydreaming is a perfect example of that. You're daydreaming, or you're driving the car. We've all had those experiences. If you're driving the car and all of a sudden you just realize you've gone 10 blocks and you don't know how you got from where you were to where you are, or you're walking along the beach and all of a sudden you realize you've walked 200 or 300 yards and you've been, out of it, so to speak.
Yeah.
So those are examples of flipping over to that all-powerful mind that we call the soul mind, or what I like to call is the contemplative mind.
Is there a connection between deep trance meditation and dreaming?
I think it's all from the same source. When we dream, I have to be very careful and say that when we have dreams, we have visitation dreams where a discarnate entity will come and visit us, like a relative or an angel or a saintly figure or even God. Sometimes when you dream of your deceased father, it's not your father that you're dreaming of. You're dreaming of God the Father. When sometimes you're having a dream and you're floating out in space and you're zipping along and you see the planets and it looks kind of real, but you say, how come I'm out in the solar system? This can't be real. And you wake up with a bounce. Your whole body jerks. That's an astral projection. That's a soul leaving the body. You can go in different dimensions where you see colors and things that are strange and strange beings. Well, they might not be aliens. It might be that you're in another dimension. Or you might even go to the heavens above in the heavenly dimensions and see celestial beings. Those things are included in the state of dreaming where you're communicating from the low self to the high self, and you're getting advice. Sometimes when you see, if you're a man and you see two women and a man in a dream, or three people, you might be talking to the three levels of yourself, the low, mid, and high self, or the conscious, subconscious, and super subconscious. So it's a very complicated state that we're in, and to lump it all into dreams is really a misnomer. It's kind of like if you pay attention to your dreams, and I recommend everybody does write them down, even if it's just a word or two, or you felt good in the morning or you felt bad, you start that other part of you will say, hey, the conscious mind is looking for more information, and dreams will come. And you will see a prophetic dream, something in the future that's going to happen and does happen, and people all the time say, yeah, I've had a dream that came true. Well, that means you've had a prophetic dream. You've seen the future, and you had to wait a little while after you woke up, and it came true, whether it was a day, a week, or a year, or 10 years. And I get really excited when 10 and 20 years in the future, a dream has come true. And you can see where I'm going with that. If you can have a dream 10 years before it happens, and then it happens, oh my God, now we're into fate and free will. Do we make it happen, or was it preordained that it was going to happen? And as such, they can be as mundane as seeing it yourself in a house in the future where you have a palm tree and there's snow on the ground, and you put that in a dream and you say, what the heck, it's crazy. And then in the future you end up in a house where there's a painting of a palm tree on the wall and there's snow outside on the ground. You had a prophetic dream of putting yourself in that house, even though it might have been 10 or 20 years in the future. Commodities and stocks and the prices of these things, all kinds of going on vacation and seeing what's going to happen. As you start to work with your dreams, you start to allow your mind to drift out from your sleeping state and gather information and bring it back, and then you can use that to prosper. God doesn't want us poor. There's no reason why people are poor other than they don't know how to handle money, or they don't know what to do, or they make erroneous decisions. Having a dream awareness or a guiding aspect in your dream can help you make money. And we live in a world where we need physical abundance, plenty. Prosperity is one of those things.
When you're in a trance, can you go forward and backwards in time?
Absolutely. I've had dreams where I've seen myself, dressed in armor. That's a past life dream. I've seen myself, I once was told something. This would be like a little meeting and I was shown an experience where I was talking to somebody, or there was a group of men, 3 or 4 in a room, and somebody said, this goes back to the 1500s, and the men in the dream represented people I was going to come in contact with. And in this one dream, there was a pipe that one of the men had. Well, lo and behold, about 2 months later, I met some people, and this friend of mine came up, well, sort of a friend of mine, and he had a pipe. And I said, that's exactly the pipe I saw in my dream. So it was kind of showing me that there was a karmic connection of that past life that was coming up, and the symbol of it was the pipe. Now, it might sound strange, and it might sound people saying, oh, he's crazy, but it was the exact pipe that I had seen, which then alerted me to pay attention to what was going on at the time. As it turned out, this man with the pipe became very sick, and nobody could find out what was wrong with him. Now, you can go in the future and see things that are going to happen, as mundane as having an accident because the brakes on your car didn't work properly. Of course, when those things happen, one should be prudent, not obstinate, and go and have their car checked. And sure enough, there probably will be found a problem with the brakes, or the tires, or something in that area of the car. But you can go back in time. You can find things in your dream. I found sunglasses that I lost. I found a camera that fell behind my desk. And I wasn't sure where it was. I have found things for people, and I don't, whether it's somebody looking for a deceased person, like the police or something like that, or there's one on my website that relates to a lady who had looking for the jewelry that her mother had put away and had hidden because she was at the end of her life with Alzheimer's. She was getting a little paranoid. And in this session that we did for this woman, well, I'm getting away from dreams now into a session where we were talking to the deceased mother, who led me through the house to where the jewelry was found up in the ceiling tile or something like that. And the woman, along with her skeptical relatives, followed the instructions that were in the session that were given from the deceased mother, and went down, reached up in the ceiling, and there was the jewelry, just as it had been stated. Now, the information came from this obvious deceased person who was trying to help her daughter about the jewelry. You can do that in a dream state as well. It's a revelation, and the book of Revelations in the Bible is absolutely 100% about dreams. So dreams are a very spiritual, a high spiritual discipline, and everybody should work with their dreams for prosperity, to get information on making decisions, and also to deal with people.
Douglas, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our final break. X-Zone Nation, DouglasJamesCottrell.com is his website. A lot of information, and if you'd like to get your copy of Douglas James Cottrell 2012 Earth Changes, go to www.DouglasJamesCottrell.com. Douglas and I return on the other side of this commercial break as the X-Zone continues live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Shelley from St. Catharines, Ontario. Doug would like to know what you believe happens when a person dies.
Well, what happens when they die, they collect themselves, and I've seen this at funerals, and they leave the body, and they either go away like a cloud, like whoosh, and they're gone, or they'll hang around and they'll try to get back in the body, and you'll see a little blue or purple orb kind of bouncing on the forehead. Now, that's what I've seen, and the idea is that the soul leaves the body. It chooses when it's going to leave the body, and it leaves the body. Now, some people might say through the solar plexus, some people might say through the top of the head, or other people through the third eye or forehead. And in ancient societies, they used to drill holes in the head to allow the skull, that is to say, to allow the soul to escape.
Wow.
That said, when somebody goes into another state, that's why you should meditate, and get into deep states of meditation so that you're aware of attempting to go to the highest dimension you can possibly go. And that highest level of awareness is taught to you through your life as you aspire to spiritual levels. And the only way you can get there is either through dreams or sleep states and or through meditation. When you die, you go to the highest level of consciousness you are possibly aware of. In other words, you would go to if there were multiple heavens or many mansions or levels, you would go to the highest level that you yourself would be aware of. And that might be level 3 for somebody, level 4 for somebody else, level 12 for somebody else. But it doesn't matter, because every time you go to a lifetime, you increase your awareness. There is a boogeyman place, so I can call it that, and that's the astral plane. That's the catch-all. That's a pretty difficult, dangerous place where earthbound entities are there. And these are where stupid people or evil people or misguided souls kind of hang out. They don't know any better to go higher. All they want to do is come back into the world. And this is where you have hauntings and poltergeists and possessions and that kind of stuff happening at this low level. No one should be afraid of these people or these misguided souls, because they're really at the low level. What you need to do is to go to the higher levels, and then when you do that, these other low-level beings have no influence whatsoever.
As always, Douglas, great talking to you. I understand your dad's down?
I beg your pardon?
Is your dad down?
My father?
Yes.
Down meaning?
Is he in Toronto?
My father's passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I must have been received an email from somebody early today. I thought it was you.
No, that was my son that sent you an email today.
Oh, I see.
I was in Toronto, and I was tired. That's what he was talking about.
Okay.
We will be over your way, though, on May 24th for our next Miracle Transformation event in Hamilton. We're on our way to Montreal in June for the international conference there, the IIIHS, which is a huge international conference for spiritual and scientific and metaphysical people. You can get more information from the website. And I think we have something coming up here in London. We're doing a Quest for God study group. If you belong to an ARE group or an Edgar Cayce study group, we're doing the same thing in Toronto, Hamilton, and London. So people can catch on to that through the website as well.
Douglas, take care of yourself, my good friend. Always great talking to you, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X-Zone, which will be 3 weeks from tonight.
Okay, always a pleasure. You're a most interesting host. Absolutely. You got the best show on the internet.
Thanks, buddy. You take care now. Bye-bye. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X-Zone continues right here on Talkstar.